If you want a business rather than a job, you've got to be able to then create leverage, but you need to have consistency. We have a thing called CSR in our business: consistent, sustainable, replicable.
You would have had to have shifted your identity from a personal trainer, then to a studio owner, now to a multiple studio owner or franchisor. And so you as a person would have had to have undergone identity shifts.
Yes.
What were they and how did you go about those?
Well, I think that's the challenge with a lot of people, especially in PT businesses. They have been so constricted in their time when they're training clients. I had a philosophy, well, why would I train one client when I can train one trainer to train 30 clients?
You were the only one that has lasted as long as you have in the personal training space, because it is harder.
The definition of genius is turning the complex into the simple. That's why we've got to get anyone who owns a personal training business has to be able to elevate themselves and identify as a successful business leader who is responsible for developing people rather than seeing themselves on the best personal trainer there is.
How do you see personal training shift and evolve in the next couple of years? Welcome to a very special episode of Profit Made Simple. Today, we have one of the real pioneers of the fitness industry, a man that I admire greatly, Mr. Andrew Simmons from Vision PT. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me today.
Mate, absolute pleasure. Really excited about this one. You and I have known each other for a while, and I'm looking forward to unpacking your insights and thoughts on the industry itself, but also how you've been able to build such a reputable brand. Now, when you started Vision PT, it's now the #1 personal training business in Australia. Did you always build it with that intention, with that mission? Did you build it to the size that it is? Did you always look at it from a scale perspective?
Not originally.
No?
Absolutely not. No, it was all about trying to have a great personal training business. That's what it was. We just wanted to be able to provide great service. So when I started with Jeff Jowett, back in the early back in 1999, those sort of times, we just wanted to help clients get great results. And it was really through, I'm going to say, good fortune that we got kicked out of Fitness First, and that really forced us to grow. So it was either stay inside Fitness First and die pretty much, or have a crack. So Dave Allen, great friend of ours, both of ours for many years. He was running Fitness First at the time and gave us the ultimatum, well, why don't you go out and open your own studio? So we did that. We went open to our own studio with the mind of just having a great studio. And then we realized that we needed to give trainers the opportunity to be able to grow.
So the intention was only one studio at that point
originally,
in time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We were personal trainers and we just wanted to basically have a personal training business.
And what was the gap that you saw in the industry where you said, we need a personal training studio right now? There's an unmet need. What was that unmet need?
It was definitely the focus on client results.
Yeah.
That was definitely the thing. When we were training clients in Fitness First back then, the gym was packed. It was amazing at Sylvania. But we couldn't get on equipment. It was really hard for us as personal trainers to navigate our way around that. We thought we need to have our own space where we can focus on the client results and give them a great experience in an environment which really focuses on them.
And that's been a hallmark and a value that you still carry on, 27 years later.
Absolutely.
It's about the results itself.
Yep.
And then at what point did you realize after opening your first that, wait a second, we've got something here that we can scale. We want to give some opportunities to trainers. But when did the penny drop?
Having a number of trainers leave.
Okay. And it's because they wanted more growth opportunities?
They wanted the opportunity to be able to do the same thing themselves.
Yeah, okay.
And we realized that we built a business model that could be replicated. And it was never intended to do that. We just wanted to have a great personal training studio. So we created systems, and of course it got into all the books. It was, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was
E-Myth for you, wasn't it?
E-Myth for me, mate. That was the #1 for me.
I'm going to share a quick little story. Australian Fitness Network used to publish a printed monthly kind of magazine newsletter, and I was a brand new PT starting out in probably 2001, and there was an article in there from you advocating eMyth and how to build systems for your business.
Absolutely.
And I remember it clearly because I went and bought eMyth and it had an incredible impact on me and my career.
Awesome, mate. That's what I love. I love to hear those sort of stories, right? Because it's one of our foundation books that we recommend to our entire network all the time. So we've got a list of 13 books that we recommend as foundation ones. They're not necessarily the be all end all books, but it actually gives people a really good understanding about what vision's all about. And it had a massive impact because I was sitting there trading time for money as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm teaching classes. I was involved with Les Mills for many years. So I'm teaching Les Mills classes, training my clients, lecturing for the AIF on the weekends. I was a one-man band or a sole trader that thought he had a business. And the eMyth kicked my bum and realized that I didn't have a business. I had a job just over broke, you know, at the time really, because I realized if I was going to get injured, I would not have an income because my income relied on my body so much to teach those classes, to train the clients, to run with them, even to go and lecture. You're required to be able to, you know, be animated with the people that you're presenting to. So I realized, if something happens to me, I'm in trouble. And like most personal trainers are, they are just over broke. And I realized I've got to be able to create systems to be able to replicate what I do and get leverage. And I think that's the key. The key word that we have in Vision is about getting leverage so we can grow the business and focus on the business rather than working in it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a big key piece of what we teach at Fitness Profit as well, is how can you create leverage or arbitrage so then you can maximize your profit, your freedom and your impact.
Yes.
If you're trying to do everything, then you've got a ceiling and you're capped by your time and your energy itself.
Absolutely.
What were some of the shifts? Like you would have had to have shifted your identity from a personal trainer, then to a studio owner, now to a multiple studio owner or franchisor. Yeah. And so you as a person would have had to have undergone identity shifts.
Yes.
What were they and how did you go about those?
Well, I think the focus originally was training clients, right?
Yeah.
So you're training clients and I realized I can't do this all the time, but I didn't want to forego my income. So I realized through reading the eMyth, I had to start creating systems and I had to document everything that I did, so I could get other trainers to do that. So I had a philosophy, well, why would I train one client when I can train one trainer to train 30 clients? And then you get to that stage and you're able to do that. And I thought, hang on, so why would I train one trainer when I can train a manager or an owner who can then train 7 or 8 trainers to then train the clients? So it was all about really creating the models and the systems up the chain. First for trainers to deliver the client experience, then for managers to be able to manage the trainers who then deliver the client experience. And then now it's become more about helping multi-owners to be able to manage multiple studios. So it's basically just a focus. It's about trying to just, I suppose, climb the levels. You know, as I say, new levels, new devils. You know, it's a great saying. But it's about then trying to work out how do you help people at each rung. The challenge sometimes for me is actually stepping down and trying to focus on the next level down rather than trying to keep it high.
What do you mean by that? Trying to focus on the next level down instead of trying to keep it high?
It's almost, sometimes you get challenged by, okay, maybe things aren't getting done or the client experience isn't as great. Right. Yeah. So I'll focus on working on the client experience rather than going, hang on, it's either it's probably a training issue for the trainer who delivers the client experience. Or I'll step in to train a trainer when I shouldn't be training the trainer. I should be training the manager or the owner who trains the trainer. So sometimes it's this, you think, oh, well, someone's not doing it the way you think it should be done, so you try and bypass.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the challenge, is sometimes you step down to another level. And it's something that, hey, I'm not going to deny it. I'd struggle with that today.
Yeah, well, if you see a challenge or you see an opportunity that it could be done better, you want to go and fix that. But really it's about creating the leader and giving the leader the skills, the resources, so they then can translate that down to their
Absolutely.
team.
Yeah, that is absolute key. And trying to stay high without trying to sound egotistical, but that's the best way you're going to be able to create scale is by trying to stay high.
Yeah, because if you jump in trying to rescue all the time, you're going to be pulled in 1,000 directions and it's actually not going to be the greatest form of impact that you can have within your organization, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I want to talk about the identity, because going from a trainer to a studio owner to then managing franchisees to then managing people that have multiple sites, you would have had to have grown your skills. You would have had to become a different Andrew Simmons than you were in 1999.
Yes.
So what skills were important for you as you have undergone this evolution?
Of course, leadership skills, right?
Yeah.
They're absolute key.
And you're one of the biggest advocates of leadership in our industry itself. You and I just love John Maxwell. It's obviously something you're constantly working on yourself. How have you grown as a leader? What does that look like for you?
I think it's the communication piece. I mean, often you've got to become really comfortable about not necessarily being liked. That's probably the biggest challenge.
That's hard, isn't it?
It's really hard. It's really hard because, but you realise I always use the frame of reference like the Prime Minister, the person who's the highest leader in the land, and being comfortable with the fact that, well, if he's probably more so now because the parties are so all over the place, but really disliked by the majority of people, you've got to realise, well, if it's going to happen to the Prime Minister,
it can happen to
me. So who do I think I am to think that's not going to happen with me?
Yeah. And why do you think you need to be disliked at times? Why is that an element of leadership?
I think it's just reality because I think the challenge often is when you're dealing with people, like even with clients and even trainers in a studio, you see them all the time. So you're getting these little lessons and learnings and just interactions a lot. But when you're not seeing people as much, we're human, right? We create stories. People create stories in your head. Some of us think, well, at the moment, we're actually doing a refit of a studio as a great example where I've got a whole process now to refit our studios. And some people think that they could think, well, we're not trying to get the best deal for them. And of course, our headquarters team, we're trying to make sure we get them as cost effective and as premium as possible. Sometimes it's a tug of war between going, well, you want premium, but you want to make sure it's cost effective. So we've always got the best interest at heart. But when people don't interact with you and see you every day, they might think, hang on, have they actually got my best interest at heart?
Yeah.
So the communication as you become removed becomes more challenging. And so you've always got to be mindful that we all create stories.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily true, but we've just got to understand that's the reality in people. So the communication is absolutely paramount.
It is pivotal, isn't it? Because I've seen a lot of franchisor relationships and they can get very toxic, right?
Yep.
And they almost feel like they're on opposite sides and they're not on the same team and they're not rowing the boat in the same direction and it's not like they want the same things.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you navigate that?
Mate, I think it's just communication. It really is. We're really big on getting feedback from our franchisees. So we survey everything. So whether it's a franchise meeting, whether it's a conference, we're always trying to get feedback from the network. And of course, some people don't give feedback. And, it's almost, I've got a little mantra though. And, unless you're actually going to be part of the solution, you forfeit your right to complain. I think
I love that.
It's really important, right? Because, you can complain about something. That's why now I use Dan Martell as a really good reference, right?
You love the 1-3-1 rule.
I love the 1-3 run, right? Because it's something that people will often come to you with problems and Dan will say, okay, so you've got a problem. If you're going to identify a problem, you've got to come with 3 viable options and your best solution.
I love it as well because a lot of people, they find the problems. They're experts, Olympic champions at finding the problems. But it's like, I don't want problems. I want solutions.
That's right.
And it's like, if you don't come to me with the 1-3-1, then we're not going to have the conversation itself.
And that takes a lot of discipline because as somebody with me, as an achiever, right? If we look at some of the laws of books, I think it's just trying to identify remember the book, Now Discover Your Strengths. Great book, Now Discover Your Strengths. He talks about your strength finder assessment. Now, my number one key theme as a strength is achievement. So I have to achieve every day. It's a blessing and a curse. So as an achiever, I have to achieve every day. Now, for me, the best way to achieve is find solutions to problems.
Yeah.
And that can often be a challenge for me because it's probably not, in order to again, focus on leverage, I sometimes don't get the best leverage because someone comes up with a problem.
And you just want to solve it.
I just want to solve it.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
and it can be a small problem.
Yeah.
And you should be solving solving much higher level
problems and allow people that are below me to be able to, when I say below me, I don't like that word, but be able to, people in the organization responsible for looking after those sorts of things, let them solve it.
Let them shine.
That's right.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're going to stuff it up. But I think, as Dan says, well, if it's 80% done, that should be good enough.
That's right. And you disempower them every time you jump in as well. So for you've had to really elevate as a leader. What are some of the leadership philosophies or principles that you live by?
Mate, I've got 58 of them.
Let's give us your
literally.
Let's get that's so it's obviously something that you've thought about a lot, and not only thought about a lot, you live as well. Let's hear maybe 3 of the most paramount, profound leadership principles that you lean on every day to lead your network.
Sure. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Great reference
The OG.
point.
Yeah,
absolutely. And if you're doing that, it'll help you to be able to take ownership, accountability, responsibility. Yeah, and not lay blame, make excuse, live in denial.
Totally.
I think that's what people often do. So I always try and think about that. Always remember, and sometimes if it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
Hey, if I've got problems, I've been there for all of it. Jeff Jowett says that a lot. He says, hey, Jeffro, you were there for all of it. And I really like when he says that, but that's so true. Like I've been there for every issue. So I've just got to take responsibility for that and then work out the solutions to those challenges. That's definitely one. I've got so many of them. It's actually crazy. I lose sometimes focus on what some of them actually are, to be honest. But so I think about, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Definitely, if it's to be, it's up to me. Never start your day till it's finished on paper.
Unpack that for me.
I think it's important that you actually understand what your highest priorities are in your day. Your time can get hijacked so easily.
Yeah.
Right. So people, we talk about a thing called the rock diary, at Vision, and go, what's your rock diary? And really, as it's spoken about, is around, what are the big rocks that you need to focus on for the day?
Yeah. Okay.
Focus on the big rocks, then the medium-sized rocks and the small rocks, and put the sand in. There's a whole thing around Stephen Covey, who's actually come up with that, right? And so really it's about making sure you sit back and you focus on what are the key things that you need to do today.
Yeah, what are the most important? Yeah, because you're right. I mean, people can be busy or they can be productive, and the difference is their level of planning. Like we have a rule is you're not allowed to finish your work day until you've planned the next day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a whole concept. So you plan the next day and then you set up for the day.
Yeah.
Whereas people just wing it. And I think that's the challenge with a lot of people, especially in PT businesses. They have been so constricted in their time when they're training clients. Like I remember when I worked, it was really good for me to work as a trainee accountant when I first left school. I was accountable for every 6 minutes of my day. I had to keep a timesheet. I had a clipboard next to me all day.
Because that's where the billables
billable hours. I had to bill somebody for every 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And now if we were doing admin, you had to put the admin in. Or if I went to the toilet,
you had to put the toilet
time in.
Every minute was accountable.
I was accountable, mate, every time. And the same thing happened then when I'm training clients. You're accountable to turn up on time for a client. They are waiting for you at 7 a.m. And then you know that at 7:30 a.m., you've got another one coming. So you've got to be really effective and efficient during that time. When you then get off the tools, it's almost like, thank God, the shackles are off.
It falls apart, right?
And the whole thing falls apart. And I think about things like doing your goal session calls in our circumstance. So rather than actually focusing on training that one client, you follow up all the clients that have done a 9-week goal session in the last week. You give them a call and say, hey, how'd you go? Are you happy with your trainer? Blah, blah, blah. We've got a whole process around how to do that. Now, managers and owners won't treat that goal session call time
like a session. Yeah.
Because they're not accountable. They haven't got a client standing there waiting for them. So it's very easy. And look, it's understandable. You go, all of a sudden you've got this time and you feel like you're your space, right? But really it's dangerous.
It's very, very dangerous. Yeah, it's a really good point. And one of the things that I've been saying to a lot of the clients in our program is you need to treat marketing, sales, system development like it's sessions, because you turn up for that session early, organized. You turn up, with great energy and intention. Are you doing that in the other components of your business? Are you treating it with the same level of urgency, respect?
Yes. Yep. And I think that's why, and a great saying, again, it's a Dan Martell one, but it all comes from, all of Dan's stuff comes from, the Tony Robbins of the world and the Jim Rohns and the John Maxwell's, right? It's all stuff that the people, in our era now are referring to, no matter who they are, because they were the great leaders, right, that we can learn from. And Dan will say, if you haven't got an admin person, you are the admin person.
Yeah.
And you're probably not very good at it. Right? And that's what I think about today. Okay, well, that's the first thing. We've got to make sure we leverage our time to get organized so we can focus on those most important things.
The most important things.
And not get busy being busy. Sometimes you can go, okay, well, good, I've ticked that thing off, but you realize it was such a low-level task. You shouldn't be doing that. So when you do a time audit, and you work out where am I actually spending my time, and you just you've got to get really real with yourself and go, how productive am I? Am I busy or am I productive?
Yeah. Yeah. And as a leader, you've obviously doing that audit on a regular basis, making sure that you are doing the highest level leverage tasks within your business.
Yep.
And in your case, it's really making sure that the guys that have multi-sites are great leaders, because the impact that they have just amplifies throughout the organization itself.
Yep. Absolutely.
I want to talk about, personal training. It's in the name itself. It's very personal. Quite often, personal training can be very relationship driven. It's the person is at the center of it. Not necessarily an easy thing to then go and systemize and franchise. Very challenging.
Yep.
And I think when you look at around at all the franchises that have come and gone that are here today, you are the only one that has lasted as long as you have in the personal training space, because it is harder. So how do you balance, all right, a person's personality, a person's charisma? Quite often that drives the attraction of the studio or helps build it up, versus, hey, we need you to do things a certain way because we need consistency across the franchise. Like there's, we need it done at this standard and we have to be uncompromising on that. How do you balance those two forces? Because they're difficult. That's challenging.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, we're very fortunate that we tend to attract a lot of people that come out of courses. And a lot of our successful franchise owners for some of them, it's been their first real job.
Yeah.
Right. So at heart they still identify. So Atomic Habits, of course, that's obviously a great book. And that's where he says your identity shapes your habits, your habits shape your identity. Yeah. Again, another philosophy, right?
Yeah.
That we focus on. It's so true. And you mentioned it before about your identity. Now people think, okay, well, I'm a personal trainer, so therefore I'm just going to be the very best personal trainer I can be. And that ties into, they've got to be careful because ego is the enemy. Another one, it's really important. So it's about trying to teach people, do you want to have a business or do you want to have a job?
Yeah.
That's the key, right? So it's about education. It's about educating people to realize that if you want to have a business, which the definition of which is a profitable corporate entity that can operate without you, if you want a business rather than a job, you've got to be able to then create leverage, but you need to have consistency. So we have a thing called CSR in our business: consistent, sustainable, replicable. Everything we do needs to have those elements into it. That's how you're going to get scale. But if you just allow, and when they realize that is the key to be able to scale so they can leverage to have call it a bigger life, and then focus on whether it's, not having to be on the tools all the time or being disappointed because a trainer did a bad job. And then often owners get stuck in personal training because they realize, hang on, the clients don't want to train with anybody else but me. You've got to be able to get somebody to be able to train them really quickly. Now, of course, there's an inverse relationship between quality and quantity.
Yes.
Complexity and simplicity. So we say the definition of genius is turning the complex into the simple. Starting to rattle off all these philosophies now, right? And that's what it's about. It's about trying to think, Okay, let your ego go. Realize the more simple you make everything, the more successful and scalable your business is.
Yeah, I love that. But that can be hard for people, right? Because
Absolutely.
they want to, they want the next piece of fancy equipment in the studio, or they want to do programming, which is a little different, or they want to create an event or have something that is outside the realms or the parameters of the vision product itself. And they may feel like you're putting a lid on it, right?
Okay.
We're shutting them down, but it's helping them see, hey, this is the path where you can have more impact, you can have a bigger business, you can have more leverage. It's going to give you a lot more fruit than just being creative and willy-nilly all the time.
A mate of mine, Brendan Green, who founded Hire a Hubby, had a great saying, or has a great saying: the personal plan drives the business plan. If we focus on people's personal plans and understand where they want to go. So I run a personal leadership module for our network to understand what their goals are in life. When you connect how the business helps them have a great life, then they can connect the ways to do that and how they can go, hang on, I need to let go of my ego. I need to stop making things complex because what it's going to have an impact on is my personal plan.
So it really is about connecting to that bigger why, right?
It's absolute key to be able to do that, because when you then identify, and a lot of people have these great goals and they say they want to own, whether it's a holiday house or a car or whatever it is, but when you get down to it, they realize the level they're at right now is not going to get them to that point.
Yeah.
So it's about trying to elevate their philosophies to help them get to those levels. And then that goes beyond what they do. It's what you can get other people to do consistently well that's going to help them achieve what they want to achieve. Otherwise, they just get buried and become locked into this idea, well, they've got a personal training business, but really what are they? They're a personal trainer who's just happens to have a personal training business, and then they just spin around in circles.
Yeah, it's more of a reflection of a job than a business,
That's
really,
right.
because it's
Absolutely.
way too key person dependent.
Yep.
You've been able to replicate across different countries, different states, multiple sites. You're constantly growing. We were just speaking before. You've got a new site opening up very, very soon. How do you maintain quality control? And it's difficult, right? Because you've got different personalities within the businesses. You can't actually be there. Your team can't always be there. So how do you have standardization? Because I know you well enough to know you've got standards that are right up here. Like Vision is a premium product, premium service. It's right at the very top. You're telling me about the investment in the software and the fit outs and everything that you're doing to ensure that you're constantly innovative and a brand leader.
Yep.
How do you maintain the standards up here across volume?
It's a never-ending focus on personal growth and learning, So we have our three core values at Vision: leadership, spirit, and growth. Now we talk about leadership, we talk about building family spirit. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to create the franchise, right? Because I realized there were so many personal trainers, me included, who was just a sole personal trainer doing my own thing. And I had great teamwork with my Les Mills cohort. We go around teaching instructors how to teach the new programs. We come together for our quarterly workshops, and I felt like we were just a unit that would teach the workshops. But when I went back to the gym training clients, it was like dog eat dog.
And very isolated. Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to create spirit so that the network got together and learnt from each other, right? And then they were able to then, because they had that spirit, they work on their leadership and they work on their growth. So I think about that. So really what it ties into, we focus on never-ending personal growth and learning, and it's a constant training thing. I mean, I love the idea. I've been reading a lot about Peter Ritchie, who brought McDonald's to Australia.
I don't know the story.
Oh, great story. So when they first brought Macca's to Australia, it was roughly in the first 7 years of operations, I think they lost about $15 million.
Wow.
Right. And they rated really low on productivity. They were in the bottom 5% of productivity. And they were trying to work out what was the reason for that. Was because of high labor costs in Australia. Right. And he realized that he couldn't do anything about that. It wasn't as if he could try and bargain down and get like lower wages like they have in the States, for example, and many other countries around the world. He went, okay, rather than trying to lower the wages, I've just got to make my people better so their productivity goes up. So he doubled down on training for the next 5 years. And then by the early 90s, they became the number one globally in productivity and have pretty much stayed at the same level since. So Hamburger University, as they call it in the States, and he replicated that in Australia. So their focus is on training. And that's what, for me, that's what it's been about is now our pursuit is, team, we just announced at our conference and throughout last year, let's double down on training so that we all get better.
And when you say double down on training, is there different modules, courses, lessons that are appropriate for each of their positions in their career path?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a full career path. So we put our trainers through our onboarding program, and that's about between 100 and 115 hours of training.
Wow.
That a new personal trainer who gets onboarded, that's what they go through that process.
115 hours of training.
Of training, to get started. Now they can train clients after they pass their assessments, but that whole onboarding process is that in depth.
I love that.
We pay our trainers to go through a 9-week client experience. So they get 2 personal training sessions a week and are trained like a client.
For 9 weeks.
For 9 weeks.
Before they even take a session themselves.
Well, no, they can take a session earlier than that.
Yeah.
They can train it, like even after a couple of weeks potentially, if they go through the initial component relatively quickly, they could train clients after 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
But we pay them through this whole process.
I mean, when you have a look at the industry itself, you're almost the opposite, because a lot of the time is like, how quickly can I get them in taking classes? You know, oh, you finish your Cert 3 today, cool. You're jumping in, and that's about the extent of it. You've gone, nope, we're going to do 100 plus hours on the onboarding. Yep. There's university modules. I know you run conferences and trainings.
Yeah. So we run, we are coaching for impact, group training excellence, 5-star PT, advanced nutrition, rookie mentor training, sales success, mastering marketing, menopause, seminar presenting in general. We run studio management training. We even from a CPD point of view, we've got about 70 CPDs that we've got throughout our journey for someone to go through that process.
No doubt that's come at a significant cost for you to deliver that.
Yeah.
But the value and the ROI on it means that now everyone's operating at a higher standard.
Yep, that's right.
They stay in the network for a long time because there is a career path, and they are growing their skills and their knowledge as well. And going back to what we were saying before, it allows everyone to operate at the same high standard.
That's right.
We're all in the same playing field.
And
now.
I think those who embrace that and realize, at the end of the day, you never stop learning, right? Like at the end of the day, it's not about knowing, it's about doing, right? It doesn't. I don't care how much you know. It doesn't matter. Like what matters is what you do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about putting things into action, always actioning things. So, our network, the best ones in our network will constantly come back to training to hone their skills, always sharpening the saw. So our owners come back to studio management training every couple of years, especially the ones that come back the second time. Often the first time they're like deers in headlights, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to get to those levels of leadership that will take them to a higher place. When they then go and do it for a period of time, they come back, they go, okay, that actually makes sense because they've been able to apply those skills, and then they realize what their gaps are. So we love the idea of this. We know the sigmoid curve is alive and well with everybody. And that sigmoid curve being, people get to that stage where they go through initiation, and then they go through perspiration, and then maturation. And at that maturation stage, that's the most dangerous place for anybody, because you can then go over the curve and expire. But what you've got to do is you've got to evolve. And you've got to evolve yourself by going back to training and just getting re-inspired. Now, whether it's a conversation with somebody, like for me, going back and seeing Vern Arnish during the week, it just invigorates you. But and most often not, it just reminds you of the stuff that you sort of already know. Again, philosophy, to know or not to do is really not to know.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've got that in my mind all the time. I go, far out. Well, it's useless, if you know that and you don't do it. So again, it's just a philosophy or a reflection point to go, right, just implement the stuff that you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It's so contrasting to the industry itself. It really is. And it's something that is truly unique to Vision. And you can see why people stay in the network for as long as they do because of that. I want to talk about industry trends because there is a new trend every 5 minutes. There is always something. There's always a new shiny object, right? Whether we're training in infrared now, we were training in altitude rooms. We've got hot zones and cold zones in all the facilities these days. How do you look at the trends and go, we're going to adapt or adopt that into our business? Or we're not? Like, what kind of filter do you put it through? Because it's got to be distracting for you. Yeah. And I can imagine a lot of people in the network are going, Simo, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? And you've got to be able to, again, going back to being a leader and not being liked all the time, you've got to go, no, because it doesn't actually align with where we're going as an organization.
So again, this is part of that idea, right? I've got to understand, Warren Buffett, great quote. The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. Now you can imagine Warren Buffett, how many investment opportunities that come across his desk.
He'd be getting thousands every day.
Absolutely. Now, again, I read an article about his address in 2022. And he talked about, he said, in the 58 years that he ran Berkshire Hathaway, right? He only made 10 really good investment decisions. He said that's about one every 5 years. And I went, wow. And I think about that for us, right? I think back over the time and go, what were some of the great decisions that we actually made over that time? And it's like really big ones for us. It's like, okay, let's provide a personal training studio first. You have to be a studio client and then you can become a member. We flipped the gym model. First great decision. Second decision, we decided that we'd never sell pay-as-you-go personal training again. Massive decision.
Huge, right? Because we're going back almost 30 years and that's all what was done, right?
That's all I did. I had pay-as-you-go personal training. I had cash tins for our trainers.
Yeah.
And as soon as we flipped out and we only sold programs, 50, 100 and 200 session programs back then, game changer.
Yeah, huge.
So there's some of these pivotal moments that you make decisions on that have a big impact. So you've got to be able to understand that. And I really embrace that sort of philosophy with him and go, okay, if I keep saying yes to everything, I'm not going to have a great business. I won't be successful.
How do you discern what to say yes to and what to say no to?
Again, mate, CSR, consistent, sustainable, replicable. Yeah. Like I look at, say, a great towel service. Wouldn't it be awesome as a premium service for us to give a client a fresh hot towel for every workout? So at the moment, if you don't provide it, it's neutral service. It's not expected. The moment you say you're going to provide that towel service, but then you don't, it goes from being really good to really bad. And what are the chances as you scale that that's going to happen every single time?
Yeah.
So I've got to think about what are we going to be able to do consistently. It's sustainable over a long period of time, and I can replicate it far and wide. That's the decision that we always go back to. Again, the other philosophy is the definition of genius is turning the complex into the simple. So the more we start bolting on things, the more complex it becomes, the harder the business becomes to manage. So that's why we've got to get anyone who owns a personal training business has to be able to elevate themselves and identify as a successful business leader who is responsible for developing people rather than seeing themselves, I'm the best personal trainer there is. And I'll do what I want my clients to do and my ego takes over.
I think there's just so many great lessons there to unpack because one of the biggest things I see in business owners is inconsistency and distraction and shiny objects and idea fairy. And it's hard because this industry screams trends at you.
Yes.
But what you've just said there is if we make it more complex, then it gets very, very hard to scale itself. The second thing is the real power is in the simplicity in saying no. Like that is a great Warren Buffett story. I love that, and I've heard it before. And just making sure that we're saying no, 100 times more than we're saying yes.
Yeah. And I think it's actually explaining the why behind it. Like I've made the mistakes over the years of going, no, we're not doing that. And I've thought about it deeply, but I haven't taken people on that journey to actually understand the reason why.
Yes, they need the rationale.
And they need the rationale behind it. And that's a necessity for every business leader now, because people question everything. We've got more access to information than ever before. And people will become really curious and they go, well, why wouldn't we do that? And we may have made that mistake of actually going down that path many, many years ago. And I see that as being one of the trends was when Virgin came into the market and it was no contracts. No contracts. And some people freaked out about that. But I think contracts are so important for an individual client. So it's not just about focusing on the business itself. It's actually going, what's best for that client?
Yeah.
And often people come to us and they're willing to spend a lot more money to come to us than what they are to go to a gym because they've tried everything.
It hasn't worked.
And it hasn't worked for them.
Yeah.
And often we say, well, you've come to Vision because this time you're serious about actually making an impact. And often it's the actual contract that they've signed up for, or the program they've signed up for. It's a
commitment, right?
That holds them accountable to that. Because this time what we're going to do, I think the number one responsibility of a trainer is to hold a client accountable to what they want to achieve. Because it's so easy for anyone just to get distracted by the clients get distracted by bright, shiny stuff or things that happen in their life. So you've got to be able to go, hang on, you've come to us for a reason. Like, I'm not done with you yet. You said you wanted to lose 20. We're not done here.
Yeah.
You haven't achieved it. And it's my responsibility to help you navigate your way through relapse, because relapse is a normal part of the change process. Not let you off the hook when you relapse. That's happened too many times in your life before. Hang on, come on. And of course, we'll work with them and coach them through that process to help them achieve what they actually set out to achieve.
So many good lessons there. Where do you see the future of personal training? Because you and I, we were having a coffee before here and we were talking AI, right? And we're talking about all the incredible fit outs that are happening.
Yep.
And there is a lot of change around us right now and it's happening very quickly. How do you see personal training shift and evolve in the next couple of years?
It's going to, we need to double down humanness.
Yeah, love that quote.
And even more than double down humanness. As all these business, I think the online space and people writing online programs, I think they're going to really struggle.
Oh, I can get the best program in the world of a couple of key prompts.
That's right. It's really easy to get a program. Again, it's about that personal connection. As the world becomes more disconnected from each other because we're so busy focused on our phone and getting that dopamine hit so quickly from that, we lose the connections. So for us to double down on the human and actually behave like humans, and humans stuff up and they don't communicate well, that's what we're missing, rather than these perfect prompts that come out or this perfect bot that speaks to you. And I saw one the other day which someone was trying to, it was a call center, and they said, am I speaking to a bot? And they said, and they deviated so they didn't have to answer the question. And he said, can I order a pizza? And he said, oh yeah, we can certainly help you with that. So to order a pizza. And he realized straight away that he was actually talking to a bot. So people sometimes they're going to see through that, and they want that really great human connection.
Yeah.
I think people are going to expect data as well. So in our business, we have got so much data. We've collected data because we've written our own software systems. We've collected data over the years really, really well. So to be able to provide that client with their personal data and make sure the accuracy of data is actually there, to give them the feedback and how they're progressing, it's fantastic. We can do that now with our software better than ever before and actually show them what they've been doing. But if you're not connected with that and you get lazy as a trainer, then people go, well, what are you really providing me here?
Yeah, I mean, there's options right now which are very, very good. You can get a great nutrition plan. You can get a great training plan. So I love the double down on the humanness. And I agree with the data as well. Right now, we have a consumer that is more informed, more educated, more mature than what they've been. Ever. And they're only becoming more so. You know, like I tell the story that I went to Andrew Huberman on a Sunday night at the convention center, and it's at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, and the place is full, right? There is a yearning for really good quality information. So if you don't provide that, then somebody else will.
That's right. Absolutely. So to be able to help people, again, I'm going to go back to accountability. To help them actually stick to what they want to achieve, but work with them as a human.
Yes.
I mean, it's like we know we've got our coaching process, actually another 3 philosophies that we work with, right? So actions speak louder than words, but everybody acts in a certain way for a reason. So I need to seek to understand before being understood by then asking, listening, and formulating. And you need to go through and work with someone and actually generally find out what their blocks are.
Yeah.
Even what they're ready to change. You know, where are they at right now? What are the outside influences? What are their values? You know, we've got, especially with the clients that we work with, people have got high family values. They've got high health values. But those 2 values are often very conflicting. You know,
they can compete
against each other, right? But to understand where that person's at, rather than just focus on just do this program. I've written you a program and just go do it.
Well, that's coaching. That's transformational coaching.
It is.
And our last guest, Kylie Ryan, and I were talking about it. Yep. And I believe that is going to be, I love the humanness, the connection side of things. You also said data. Why is data so important, Simo, in today's world for the consumer?
I think people just expect it. They know that they can get access to data, that there's obviously great tools that are out there now.
Yeah, but everyone's got a Whoop band or an Aura ring.
Absolutely, they've got it right. So because they know they can get it, they expect it. So therefore, what we need to do is make sure that we provide the clients with meaningful data. So it's about helping our trainers become really good at tracking people's progress on how they're going each session. You know, and we do a weekly report with our clients where I think that's the most important part of any session, because it's not what a client does inside the session that counts. It's what they do outside of the session.
That's right. You might get them, even if they're coming in 3 times a week, you know, 1.5, 2 hours a week.
That's it.
What are they doing with the other hours?
It really probably accounts, and this is what probably goes against the idea of personal training, is that we would suggest that 2 personal training sessions a week probably accounts for about 10% of the result.
Absolutely.
It's what they do with the other exercise and with their food that really counts. So we need to be able to track that data and provide them the opportunity to show them how they're progressing. So when we do a 9-week goal session with a client, we've got all the data there, and we say process before outcome.
Yeah.
Let's follow the process, because we follow the process, the outcome should take care of itself. So when a client says, oh, but I don't understand why I haven't achieved my goals, we can go, okay, let's go back and see what you've actually done over the last 9 weeks.
Yeah.
And we can provide them that insight. Now that becomes really important for then trainers to be able to track that really well and spend the time to put the data in effectively. Because of course, if you put dirty data in, dirty data comes out. You know, so I think that's really important. So that actually links into the humanness, because we're actually making it about the individual by providing them meaningful data as well as the connection that comes from that.
Yeah, I think there's a really nice balance there and a really nice synergy. The humanness is the ability of the personal trainer themselves to coach, to connect, to build a rapport, but also not be a rep counter, not just give exercises, but actually like resolve problems, connect to their bigger why, and help navigate the actual human behavior. That's what it is.
Absolutely. So I often see trainers who will write in, okay, the program says to do 10 reps.
Yeah.
It should never be, it's like say 3 sets of 10. It should never be 3 sets of 10.
Yeah.
Like it should say they should be doing 11.
Yeah.
And the next set, 13, because you're working the client to, we say, an intensity scale that they want to achieve, right? And you're never going to do it and all of a sudden just go, they're going to achieve that intensity at 10 reps.
No, it's never going to be just on there.
We're not that good.
Yeah.
You know, we're not that good. So when it's individualized, you actually push a client to the level that they want to be pushed. And then over time, you know, you want to try and help someone. So my biggest, my why in my life is to inspire people to achieve what they never dreamed possible. That's why I live. I want to do that every single day. Inspire people to achieve what they never dreamed possible. Now to do that, you've got to take people to another level. And without them realizing they're going to another level sometimes.
That's been really evident. I mean, no doubt you would have done that as a trainer. You help them achieve a body transformation, strength goals that they never thought were possible. Then to actual trainers owning a business, they never would have thought that was possible. And then, now people own multiple sites as well. So on so many different levels. Simbo, you've dropped a lot of really good knowledge today, and you can see that you've had a lot of influences from some very particular people. There's been Maxwell, there's been Warren Buffett, there's been Dan Martell, there's been Jim Rohn that you've referred to, Vern Harnish across today. I want to ask you, and this is a question that I have for all of our guests, is what is the best piece of advice that you have ever been given or received?
I'm going to go back to that first one, mate. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. It is fundamental for me because, sometimes you feel like even with the people in your own organization, TD Jake says it, you're building and are battling.
Yeah.
So you're building the foundation and you're battling at the same time, often with the same people. Right. So, and he also says new levels, new devils. Right. So you got to realize that as you climb the levels of leadership, you're actually asking for trouble. Right. So if you really realize that it's not going to get easier, it's going to get more challenging, right? Yeah. So you've got to work on getting better and you've got to work on being inspired because, sometimes, I love John Maxwell's quote where he says, it's lonely at the top. He said a leader never really said that, right? Because you got to take people on a journey with you. So it's about trying to help yourself get better. But the most important thing is you've got to take other people on that journey. Otherwise, it is absolutely lonely. So it's also about helping other people work harder on themselves than they do on their job. So we all rise together. So I would definitely go back to that philosophy. It's the biggest one for me.
And just before we finish, I know you and I were speaking off camera before, and you had a great piece of advice and I wanted you to share it because it was on trends.
Yeah.
And it's so important for our listeners and people watching this because, again, we're just getting thrown so much. We are getting thrown so much on social media and it's just, there are shiny objects left, right and center, but you've got a great piece of advice to help you navigate through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember it was a John Maxwell tape all those years ago, right? So we're going back, mate. And it was right at the end. And he said, follow your moral compass regardless of the trends. And it just hit me. I had to stop it and go back and I must have played it 4 times. And what that means is do what you know is right regardless of the trends.
Yeah.
So the trends in our industry for so long is when all of a sudden everyone became a group training thing. I went there. The reason I went into personal training because I was a group training instructor for so long. And when I was teaching group, I realized that so many people came to my sessions but never achieved the goals that they really wanted to, right? So I went, I'm going to focus on one-on-one PT here because I can make a meaningful difference to individuals. So, and then as time went by, the industry then suddenly jumped on board with this group. And I realized, and people were saying, we need to do more group. And I went, no. Our focus is on helping individuals achieve great results. And that's what it's been about. So with all these different things, as you said before, whether it's, infrared saunas, plunge pools, ice baths, I think, no, we can't do that consistently, sustainably, and it's not replicable. So, I realized that we need to hone down on what we can do and do that really, really well. So when we think about our education sessions, we focus on seminars and shopping tours because we embrace our 4 E's, emotions, education, eating, and then exercise. And that's a philosophy. So when the trends come in to focus on new exercises, for example, we go, no, that's number 4. We've got to understand where people are at. Where are they at from an emotional point of view? What are they ready to change? Once we understand that, we can educate them in the right areas. So we can educate them via nutrition sessions, shopping tours, seminars, whatever it is that they're ready to change and recommend they do those certain readings. Just educate them in all the things that they're ready to change. And we know that eating for someone who wants to transform their body is more important than exercise. We know you can't out-train a bad diet. I mean, often clients will want it. And sometimes we go, okay, let's give that a go, because often it's the most important thing is that people make decisions for themselves and they need to understand that and actually make the decision themselves and go, hang on, maybe I can't do that. And that's okay. But we navigate and help them actually through that. So that's what we've got to understand. If we actually stick to our values, we stick to our philosophies, it makes it a lot easier to not get wrapped up in the trends.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice to finish an incredible episode. Simo, there's going to be people that have just loved hearing your wisdom. They'll want to learn more about you. They'll want to learn more about the brand as well. Where can they best connect with you, mate?
I'm on socials. I spend heaps of time on socials, but yeah, whether it's Facebook and Instagram, I tend to stick to those two pretty quietly, as well as LinkedIn and of course our website, visionpt.com.
Yeah, guys, jump on it. Simo is an absolute pioneer in this industry. He's given so much to it as well. And I just want to say thank you, mate. Thank you. It was that article that was so pivotal for me that many years ago. And I've loved the conversations over the last couple of decades that we've had. Thank you for really shaping the way for so many people in our industry and giving so much to it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me today.
Absolute pleasure. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening to today's episode. You know what to do. If you got value, give us a like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you very much.